So good day everyone. So for today's video, we were gonna discuss about a brief history of arts. So are you go? We are go. So first is the ancient art was produced by advanced civilization, which in this case referred to those with an established written language. So the medium of a work of an art from this period varies depending on civilization that produced it, but most art serve similar purposes like to tell stories, decorate utilitarian, and much more. So next is the medieval art. The Middle Ages, often referred to as the Dark Ages, mark a period of economic cultural deterioration following the fall of Roman Empire in 476 AD. Much of the artwork produced in the early years of the period reflects that darkness characterized by grotesque imagery and brutal scenery. Next is the Renaissance art. This style of painting, sculpture, and decorative art was characterized by a focus on nature and individualism, the thought of man as independent and self-reliant. Though these ideals were present in the late medieval period, they flourished in the 15th and 16th century, paralleling social and economic changes like secularization. Next is the Mannerism. Mannerist artists emerged from the ideals of Michelangelo, Raphael, and other late Renaissance artists, but their focus on style and technique outweighed the meaning of the subject matter. Often, figures have graceful, elongated lines, small hands, styles, features, and exaggerated details.
The Baroque period that followed Mannerism yielded ornate, over-the-top visual arts and architectures. It was characterized by grandeur and richness, punctuated by an interest in broadening human intellect and global discovery. Baroque artists were stylistically complex. Next is Rococo. Rococo originated in Paris, encompassing decorative art, painting, architecture, and sculpture. The aesthetic offered a softer style of decorative art compared to Baroque's exuberance. Rococo is characterized by lightness and elegance, focusing on the use of natural forms, asymmetrical design, and subtle colors. Neoclassical artists were influenced by classical elements, in particular, a focus on idealism. Inevitably, they also included modern historically irrelevant depictions in their works. The next is Romanticism. Romanticism embodies a broad range of disciplines, from painting to music to literature. The ideals present in each of these art forms reject order, harmony, and rationality, which were embraced in both classical and neoclassicism. Instead, Romantic artists emphasized the individual and imagination.
Next is the Realism. Realism began in France in 1840s. Realism was a result of multiple events: the anti-romantic movement in Germany, the rise of journalism, and the advent of photography. Each inspired new interest in the accurately capturing everyday life. This attention to accuracy is evident in art produced during the movements, which can feature detailed, lifelike depiction of subject matter.
Art Nouveau, which translates to new art, attempted to create an entirely authentic movement free from any imitations of style that preceded it. This movement heavily influenced applied arts, graphics, and illustration. It focused on the natural world, characterized by long sinuous lines and curves.
Next is the Impressionism. Impressionist painters sought to capture and imitate impression of a particular moment. This was characterized by short, quick, brush strokes, and an unfinished sketch-like feel. Impressionist artists used modern life as their subject matter, painting situations like dance halls and sailboats, regattas, rather than historical and mythological events.
Next is Post-Impressionism. Post-Impressionist painters work independently rather than as a group, but each influential post-impressionist painter had a similar ideas.
The next is the Fauvism. Led by Henri Matisse, Fauvism built upon example from Vincent van Gogh and Georges Seurat. As the first avant-garde 20th century movement, this style was characterized by expensive use of intense color, line, and brushwork, a bold sense of surface design, and flat composition.
Expressionism emerged as a response to increasingly conflicted worldviews and the loss of spirituality. Expressionist art sought to draw from within the artist, using a distortions of form and strong colors to display anxieties and raw emotions.
So next is the Cubism. Cubism was established by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque, who rejected the concept that art should copy nature. They moved away from traditional techniques and perspectives. Instead, they created radically fragmented objects through abstraction. So many Cubist painters' works are marked by flat, two-dimensional surface, geometric forms or cubes or object and multiple vantage points.
Surrealism emerged from the Dada art movement in 1916, showcasing works of art that defied reason. Surrealists denounced the rationalist mindset. They blamed this thought process on events like World War I and believed it to repress imaginative thoughts.
It is followed by abstract expressionism in 1940 to 1950 and op art in 1950 to 1960.
Then followed by pop art. Pop art is one of the most recognizable artistic developments of the 20th century. The movement transitions away from methods used in the abstract expressionism and instead used everyday, mundane objects to create innovative works of art that challenge consumerism and mass media.
Lastly is the contemporary art in 1970 to present. The 1970s marked the beginning of the contemporary art, which extends through present day. This period is dominated by various schools and smaller movements that emerge. It has postmodernism, feminist art, neo-expressionism, street arts, the picture generation, appropriation art, young British artists.
And the digital art.
Thank you for listening. Bye-bye!